songwriting aspect and your journey, because everything on this podcast, it's a podcast for musicians in a certain perspective. We want to give people the journey aspect of what's going on. And you, my friend, are the one in a million shot. You are the urban legend of the busker who becomes a star.
Yeah.
And we're gonna get to that to start, but I do want to start by saying I'm a huge fan. I'm just going to say up front, I'm a nerdy fan on this. And the other day, I'm in the studio with my band, and I said to the guys, I was updating them on our guests that are coming up, and I said, Andy Grammer is coming on, and my bass player, Ken, is also a fan. And he goes, oh, dude, awesome. Then he looks at me and he goes, don't do it. And I went, you got to keep your head up. Oh, and he was like, God damn it. It's in my fucking head now. Thank you so much for making music that is so memorable that it actually pisses my friends off because it's stuck in their head all day.
Dude, that's a big part of it, is if you can find stuff that's catchy. You know, when I was street performing, you would know pretty quick whether you had something that was good if babies were bouncing to it. And I think that you get like, I love the good simple, which is if you're a songwriter, you know, is hard to get.
It's the hardest thing to get because you're trying to throw a million things at the wall and seeing what sticks.
Because lame simple is super lame.
Yes, it is. Absolutely.
That fine line. I like, even as someone who's not a musician, I know exactly what you guys are talking about. I'll keep this very, very short, but I was like dating a girl 2 summers ago, and she loved karaoke. And one of my favorite karaoke songs is just Big Me by Foo Fighters. First song I learned on guitar. And she's like, this song sucks, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, dude, it is perfectly simple and beautiful. Like, it's got 5 lyrics in the whole song, but it's perfect. It's a perfect song. What are you talking about? You're crazy. Yeah. And it turned out she actually was crazy, of course, but haven't talked to her in like a year. But yeah, like, I know that fine line, like, as a music fan and someone who's not in the music industry or has never written a song in his life, I know exactly what you guys are talking about.
Yeah.
So let's go back to the busking aspect, because I'm sure you get asked about it all the time. But I think from my perspective, as someone who's working their way up, when you're doing that, do you ever expect to get out of it, is my question, I guess. Dude, were you just like doing it for the love of it, or were you like, someday somebody's going to walk by and find me on this beach?
You know, so much of going after an artistic career is not having the answer, but knowing that you have to show up every day. And if you can get in love with that, and really, it sounds cheesy, but to really love the process. So like, it was still so much better than whatever my other options were. My other option at the time, I was valeting cars for like high-end douchey parties in Los Angeles. And I was, what else was I doing? I don't even know how else I was making money. It was mostly valeting, and then I was getting ready to go find another crappy job, and someone told me you could go just open your guitar case and play. And I was still making more before I was good at it than I would doing a valet gig. So it was just the better option at the moment. You know?
So the legend goes that somebody did find you doing that, and then out of nowhere, you pull "Keep Your Head Up" out of nowhere. And we asked this to one of our recent guests, but like, that song comes out and everything changes. What was it like to watch this transformation of your life go from wanting it so badly to having it? Like, what was that like? Was it a split second, or did it feel like forever?
It felt like, it's so interesting. You have it. It took a long time too. So I always like to say that the way that I started was just went out and played music, and the only way I could get up enough courage was to go with a friend of mine. So we went out and did like Jimmy Eat World covers, and we sang in harmony just good enough to someone to be like, oh yeah, sure, dude, here's $1. And just us doing that and singing in harmony got us like $60 a day. And so that was still great at that point. Then year 2, he left to go start an internet company, and I went out by myself, and I didn't have any gimmick by myself with the harmony that we had. So then the money took a serious dive, and I started to really try to figure out, what do I have to offer here that people want, or that I want to sing, or what's my sound? And I was covering Michael Jackson, and I actually had people come up and say, don't do that. And I was covering, at the time it was Hey There Delilah, and that was not working. And I was trying all these different songs, and nothing was happening. No one was stopping. I was literally going out and just spending hours at a time with nothing occurring. Because art, what's so messed up about art is it either hits you or it doesn't. It's not a job. I always say, if you're an accountant or you work at a bank, or some other job. You go in and they pay you and you learn on the job, and you're adding value somehow by being a warm body there. Art doesn't care at all unless you make me feel, and it actually gets in and does something to me. $0 until you do something.
Yep.
And so it was kind of a long process of figuring out no one cares about this, no one cares about this. I then I was covering apologize and beatboxing. And that would get a little bit of a stop. Like you could kind of build a little bit of a crowd. And then when I would sing Sunday Morning by Maroon 5 at that point.
I love that song.
People would be like, I really like this. And they would stop. And then you could see that more money was coming in your case when I played that song. So then, and this is over years of time, right? I just want, if any artists are listening, I just want to try to encourage you that most art doesn't come out just like great. That's the big myth, is that some people are so much more creative and such incredible geniuses that they've always had it. Maybe that definitely is not how it happened for me. And I like to say that as clearly as I can, because I've had a lot of success and I am not that.
Right.
So over second year in, I find that Sunday Morning's working. Then I find that One Republic is working a little bit when I cover that. The Snow Patrol cover that I have is working. So then I'm doing that during the day, and then at night I'm trying to write songs that are in the line of what is resonating with what I'm getting from people on the street. And over that process, I slowly find that I have now, my first record is a lot of me just trying to write Sunday Morning, but from my point of view and in my take on that style. And then Keep Your Head Up came out of that. And then then I have 15 minutes that are really tested. So the way that it would work on the street is you'd play for 15 minutes and build up a crowd and then stop and have everybody come buy a CD and then play that same 15 minutes again. That was a way to get the most amount of money. And so then by the time I went on a radio hustle to go into radio stations and try to get people to play my song, I had this like airtight 15 minutes that I knew worked on strangers. Like random strangers that would walk by. I was pretty good at offering my sweet spot to you and then selling you. And that would usually turn, like the same thing, impulse to get you to take your wallet out and give me $3 is the same thing that would get a radio person in Houston to be like, oh, maybe I'll put it in. Wow. Like maybe.
Yeah.
And so I went on a campaign. I went around the whole country like 3, 4, 5 times to every single radio station to get Keep Your Head Up to climb up the chart. So there was no moment. This is another myth. It's like, I'm here.
Yep.
I've arrived. It's way more like it's working, but if you don't close this guy in Orlando today, it's done. And
yeah.
Like, oh shit. So then you run down there and it's like a year, 2 years of that to then get it to a place where the average person, when you sing that, goes, I know what that is.
Man, I wish I would have known you before we started doing the radio hustle, because I've had the experience of like, I always tell a story about we were playing in Louisville, Kentucky, and our radio promoter called us and said there's a big station in North Carolina that it was in Asheville, North Carolina. It is a fucking like 7-hour drive. And we're like, we don't have a show in North Carolina. We have a show in Tennessee. And he's like, you got to hit this station. We walked in after the drive, sat in the conference room, played for 10 minutes, left. They never spun our shit. And it was like, I wish I would have known the Andy Grammer Tight 15 and I would have had much more success at that moment. So
yeah. And I think you also have to just look at it as an overall, those types of things you look at over a year.
Yep.
That I'm going to be the guy that does everything and I'm going to do it in a way that's hopefully going to leave you better than when I came. And that mentality over a long period of time just leads to things that grow and go bigger, you know, kind of the same thing. Like when you're performing on the street, you know that you're going to go out and play for 8 hours and there's going to be little pockets where it's incredible. And there's some volleyball team that came by and loves you. And now you're a star for the next 7 minutes. And then they all leave. And no one cares about you for the next 4 hours. But over the whole thing of a week of doing that, you're going to make more money than you would just as a waiter. And it's totally worth it. And you're going to grow as an artist. But it does take a lot of weird belief in yourself during these long, dry periods, you know?
Dude, just doing my research, right? And this is what I took from that conversation as well. And it's an interesting phenomenon that happens in music when you're coming up, right? You said you were playing Plain White T's and you were playing One Republic and you're playing Maroon 5. And then all of a sudden, I know Plain White T's took you out on tour and you worked with One Republic. And I'm sure you've had some run-ins or worked with Maroon 5 at some point. What is it like to go from playing them on the streets to now they're your contemporary artists? Like, was there ever a moment where you looked at the guys from the White Tees and was like, I know your song better than you do?
Yeah, that was my exact question actually. Like, do you let them onto that, or is that something you kind of like, you keep down low until you get to know the boys a little bit?
The one that really shook me was Ryan Tedder, One Republic, because he's just such a beast of a songwriter.
He's God in the songwriting community.
He's just such a beast. He knows something that no one else. I don't know. Like, there's a couple people you're like, you're not real. You have so many hits in so many different styles. And I had a song that I'd written that One Republic collaborated with DJ Galantis, and they put out. And when I heard originally my voice was singing it, and then we're like, it doesn't quite work for me. And then I heard it back with Ryan Tedder's voice on it, and that was kind of a surreal moment because I'm like, you don't understand. I've literally laid out every single One Republic album and written out the structure and form of your song to try and understand, like, why is the hook jumping off so hard right now? Oh, because you did this first. Or you did. So I've studied so hard, and who knows if that's why he liked the song. He's like, oh, this is me.
Yeah, you just copied me.
I like this song because, like, you're doing everything that I naturally do. Yeah.
I'm a songwriter by trade.